Eskom tables an increase just above inflation as the power utility warns of possible load shedding this evening. SuperSport clears Nick Mallett and Naas Botha of any wrongdoing, but Ashwin Willemse didn't take part in the inquiry, claiming racism was the cause of his studio walkout in May. This is eNews at 8. I'm Sally Burdett. Good evening. Well, there's light at the end of the tunnel, it seems. Eskom is offering a wage increase of 4.7% for 2018. Also on the table, inflation-related increases for the next 4 years. Unions are taking that offer to workers tomorrow. They seem cautiously optimistic about it. Eskom's announcement last week that it couldn't afford any increases led to protest action and power cuts. Slindele Masekane reports on the latest news.
Negotiations got off to a rocky start after Eskom failed when 2 board members didn't pitch at the talks. Unions felt the power utility was undermining the process and workers. After being locked in talks for more than 8 hours, a new offer was finally put on the table, 4.7%, which is just above the inflation rate. Unions will now consult their members.
We appreciate that from a 0% of nothing of Eskom, it is an offer that is on the table. We will obviously have to respond to it on behalf of our members who have mandated with clear mandate. 4.7 is very far from what all unions that are here have been mandated.
We are not satisfied for the fact that Eskom did not do what they promised the minister in terms of bringing power to delegation. And we were surprised by the 4 years that they are proposing. And everything else is saying we need to go and consult.
We are still awaiting a response on different aspects with regard to the IPPs, the primary coal. But from our side, we feel that Eskom is moving in the correct direction, and we hope that we can negotiate tomorrow further.
Unions are remaining mum on what their next move will be, opting to rather let the process unfold. Meanwhile, Eskom says there's a high probability of power cuts tonight and says it will advise if rotational load shedding will be conducted. Talks between the power utility and unions continue on Wednesday. Slindele Masekane, Johannesburg.
The African National Congress in the Western Cape has laid criminal charges against Democratic Alliance leader Mmusi Maimane. The ANC's regional chairperson, Xolani Sotashe, claims Maimane is in possession of damning corruption and maladministration reports of the City of Cape Town's administration, documents they say he should not have. Atim Tongana was at the Cape Town police station tracking the story today.
Unlawfully possessing some incriminating information from the City of Cape Town. That's what the ANC in the Western Cape alleges.
It's a case of theft. He must explain how did he get classified information from the City of Cape Town. We strongly believe that Mr. Mmusi Maimane has actually breached Section 7, subsection 1 of the Criminal Investigation and also the Prevention and Combating of Corruption Activities Act. The reason behind this approach is the fact that it is alleged, some of the information that is in his possession is using it against certain members of his own party for their own factional battles.
Sotashe also claims Maimane has had these documents for quite some time.
It is alleged that he received this information as early as 2014. Some of this information contain damning reports about corruption and maladministration in the City of Cape Town.
Maimane dismisses the claims.
They are spewing lies. They are going to say mad things pretty much. Our job is to deliver for people, to make sure we have an economy that creates work and will continue the job of government.
The ANC in the province says it also intends to lay an official complaint with the National Assembly through the Speaker's office. Atim Tongana, Cape Town.
Well, the DA leader was in Soweto today, as you've just seen, alongside Mayor Herman Mashaba. He met with families receiving title deeds from the Metro. Samkela Masego reports.
105 years ago, the 1913 Land Act was adopted by the apartheid regime on this day. Land expropriation without compensation has become a political fodder for political parties going towards the 2019 general election. Democratic Alliance leader Mmusi Maimane believes the land mustn't be expropriated and owned by the state, but those who work the land must have shares.
More must be done. It's within the law. It's within the Constitution of the Republic that we ensure that people are owners of land. But furthermore, we want to enhance the program of rural communities. I was in Kwatyu, making sure that rural communities are able to get land in their own right.
Maimane says the land injustice of the 1913 Land Act can't be addressed in the manner of the ANC and the EFF.
To address this injustice is not about amending the Constitution. When people have expropriated land before, only a certain race were compensated. But if you are a South African, a black South African who can't even own land in your own country, no one will compensate you for that. We are here to say more must be done and more must be done within the Constitution.
Maimane says the Constitution must stay as it is and be protected. The ANC and the EFF have made no secret of their intentions to amend Section 25 of the Constitution or test its ability to expropriate land without compensation at the Constitutional Court. Samkele Masego, Johannesburg.
The state of mental health care in the Eastern Cape is in the spotlight. The Health Ombudsman has been in the province this month investigating concerning reports at a number of institutions. The family of a patient at Fort England in Grahamstown has laid charges of assault against hospital staff. Now tonight at 10 o'clock on ETV, Checkpoint, in collaboration with Health eNews, looks into the matter.
Grahamstown resident Maggie Jacobs' brother Stephen was a patient at Fort England Psychiatric Hospital. She alleges staff beat him up.
One of the male nurses and the security took him, they stripped him, they took him in an isolated room and they beaten him up until he wetted himself.
She says management didn't seem to take the allegations seriously. The family says staff tried to convince them to keep quiet about the alleged assault.
They was just tricking my brother, and thereafter they told him he must not say he has been beaten up.
Fort England says it is investigating the incident and confirmed that police had been to the hospital. Psychiatrists say mental health in the Eastern Cape has been neglected for years.
This is not a new problem. We've had a similar crisis happening way back in 2012. We've had a similar crisis in 2014. We had a similar crisis in towards end of 2016, beginning of 2017.
And hopefully speaking out about the unknowns, speaking for the voiceless, speaking for the silent, allows families, most importantly, communities, colleagues, governments to know what is actually happening.
Health officials say it's not all doom and gloom. A new hospital is being built near Mthatha that will open its doors in September.
This one is called Botha Psychiatric Facility. It's a 30-bedded mental health unit. We've built it, as you can see, we spent 105 million rands.
There are currently 3 inquiries underway into state psychiatric institutions in the Eastern Cape.
Still ahead, all the details on the Willemse walkout report. And in the United States,
I hate the children being taken away. The Democrats have to change their law. That's their law.
Outrage at the United States' new immigration policy, which has seen children separated from their families and kept in holding cages. Ashwin Willemse's live on-air studio walkout was not because of racism. At least that's the finding of an inquiry into the incident, which occurred in May between Willemse and co-presenters Nick Mallett and Naas Botha on SuperSport. Advocate Vincent Maleka was appointed to investigate the incident. Now, he spoke to everyone except Willemse, who did not want to participate. Our sports reporter, Tloni Mtukulu, was at the release of that report today. She joins me now. Thank you so much for coming in to chat to us about this. Why did Willemse not take part in this inquiry?
So we didn't know at that briefing. We had no idea why, because we didn't have the report yet. But having gone through parts of the report, it seems he was not happy with the process of it. Initially, when the whole incident had happened on the Monday or the Tuesday afterwards, the SuperSport and MultiChoice CEOs had said that there was no racism in what had happened. And from that, he just decided, well, since you've already concluded, I'm not going to take part in this.
I remember them distinctly saying, at this stage, no sign of racism. From the report, it seems though that was based on the comments of the three gentlemen in the meeting, including Willemse, who at that stage said it was not racism. But his attorney in this report is saying racism was the cause of the incident. Let's just have a listen to SuperSport CEO Gideon Khobane and what he had to say about the findings.
The conduct of Naas and Nick during the off-air conversation with Ashwin and during the live studio broadcast of the post-match commentary of the match does not manifest naked racism and was not motivated by racist considerations. Secondly, assisted by Professor Habib, he also found that there was also no evidence of Naas or Nick exhibiting either intended or unintended subtle racism.
Right, so not overt racism, not subtle racism. Certainly, you know, the rumours that he'd been called a quota player, absolutely not true. Also, black colleagues interviewed in this inquiry said no, there was no racism. Is that sufficient, do you think, without the input of Willemse?
Not at all. I think this is incidences or cases of racism are not as black and white as that. You know, you can't just say, oh, because they say this, then you conclude with that. It's also very difficult to prove racism, as it were. It's the same as with gender issues as well. These are things that are not as overt as that. So you can't just say, oh, this happened or this didn't happen. I mean, there are incidences where obviously that's clear, but in this situation, not. And especially because he, from what I've read here, it wasn't just about that Saturday on the 19th. He felt that he was insistent that this, or what he said, that there was racism which led to that incident. So it's not just the 19th. I think there were other things that had been going on.
It's quite interesting because the report quotes a letter that Nick Mallett wrote in October 2016. He praised his colleagues, Xola Nshinga and others, and says, and I quote, "Unlike with the complex Ashwin, there were no agendas. I think he talks garbage. We irritate the hell out of each other. I'm happy to work with the others. As unlike with Ashwin, I respect their hard work and rugby opinions." Mallett also admits that he used to correct his English, but he says he does that with everyone, regardless of their colour, and it's because he's a former school teacher. I just wonder, if one colleague disagrees with another colleague, if they're different colours, is it automatically racism in today's South Africa?
No, it isn't, and it shouldn't be. However, because of what Ashwin has said with this, and several times he said in this report that he already felt like this was racism. He felt that the incidents leading up to that were racism. It's not just and again, it's the fact that you can't just conclude from one thing that this is or it isn't racist. It is very sort of, it's not a black and white issue. It's not as simple as that. And I think we try to sort of make it well, this is what it is, and therefore it must be that.
It's nuanced,
so the sensitivities around it are never considered fully, and I think that's what's been happening with this. And you have this report where the person hasn't even been.
To their credit, they did try to get a full picture. I wonder what the next move will be, because surely it's Ashwin Willemse's.
Yes, it is, but he has said for now that he's not talking, so we will wait for him to say something and then we'll see how that goes on.
Lonnie, thank you so much for talking to us this evening. Very interesting that one of the rumours that was doing the rounds, that Willemse never watched the match, that has been absolutely refuted by his colleagues, including Mallett and Naas Botha. So that was one rumour that certainly was not true. Thank you so much for sharing your information on that piece. Let's move to international news. And anger is mounting over the United States' new immigration policy, which has seen children being separated from their families, kept in holding cages. The country's Homeland Security says authorities are just following the law. Miyashni Pillay compiled this report.
This audio shows U.S. Border Patrol agents mocking crying children.
We have a duty to protect the American people, and it's one that I take very seriously. Here is the bottom line. DHS is no longer ignoring the law. We are enforcing the laws as they exist on the books. As long as illegal entry remains a criminal offense, DHS will not look the other way.
More than 2,000 migrant children have been separated from their families at the US border with Mexico. The children, some as young as 3 years old, are being kept in detention facilities like this. It's all part of White House plans to deter illegal immigrants from entering the US. The UN has condemned the move, calling it inhumane. But the White House says it's only removing the children if their parents have committed crimes. President Donald Trump has quickly shifted the blame.
I hate the children being taken away. The Democrats have to change their law. That's their law.
Sir, that's your
That's the Democrats' law. We can change it tonight. We can change it right now. I will leave here. No. You need their votes. You need their votes.
Anger over the new policy has been growing, with a number of protests breaking out across the country. Ashwin Willemse, Johannesburg.
Recapping your top stories, Eskom tables an increase just above inflation as the power utility warns of possible load shedding this evening. SuperSport clears Nick Mallett and Naas Botha of any wrongdoing, but Ashwin Willemse didn't take part in the inquiry, claiming racism was the cause of his studio walkout in May. We've got your weather details after the break. And then how about the Rubik's Cube World Cup? That's coming up next month. These guys are practicing.
Good evening and welcome to the Weather Centre. The cold front that has been sweeping across southern South Africa throughout Tuesday will be leaving our shores later on tonight, but leaving behind quite a bit of cloud across much of KwaZulu-Natal, where light rain and drizzle can be expected for the southern parts of the province throughout your Tuesday night. On the other hand, it will be mostly fine for the rest of South Africa, but pretty chilly for the western, southern and central interior. Then as we go through Wednesday, mostly sunny skies are forecast for the western areas, with warmer daytime temperatures for the western and southern parts of the country. It's going to be cooler for the eastern sections, with cloud and rainy weather forecast for much of KwaZulu-Natal as well as the easternmost parts of Mpumalanga, especially towards the evening. Now it's going to be sunny on Wednesday for much of the Northern Cape. However, it will stay cool to mild for the province. Sutherland starting at -5 and warming to just 14 degrees in the afternoon. Highs around 22 are forecast for Upington, Postmasburg and also for Kimberley. Mostly sunny skies are expected for much of the Western Cape. Partly cloudy, however, for Cape Town, Langaban and Vredendal, and top temperatures here will lie mostly in the upper teens and lower 20s. We are also going to see mostly fine conditions for much of the Eastern Cape, with mild daytime temperatures. A bit of rain, however, for Port St. John's, peaking at 20 degrees. Cloudy and rainy weather can be expected for parts of KwaZulu-Natal, where highs in the lower 20s are expected for your Wednesday afternoon. We are going to see a bit of cloud creeping into the eastern areas of Mpumalanga, where we could have a small chance of drizzle in the evening. Partly cloudy skies as well for Thohoyandou and Palabora. Otherwise, it will be mostly sunny and mild to warm across the rest of the Limpopo province. Clear skies are expected for the northwest, where top temperatures in the mid-20s are forecast for your Wednesday afternoon. It's also going to be clear across the Free State, Felcom, warming to around 22 degrees. Sunny weather also persists across the Gauteng province, where mild to warm daytime temperatures are expected for your Wednesday. Now looking ahead to your Thursday, it's going to be cloudy and rainy for Cape Town, but sunny weather continues for the rest of South Africa. Then on Friday, it stays sunny for much of the country. However, Cape Town will be cloudy with a high of 19.
And finally, most of us would struggle to do a Rubik's Cube without help and a few hours. Well, these next people can do it in less than 6 seconds. They're in London and they're trying to qualify for the Rubik's Cube World Cup next month. Winners get a staggering £30,000 prize. That's nearly 550,000 rand for all those fast fingers. Let's recap your top stories. Eskom tables an increase just above inflation as the power utility warns of possible load shedding tonight. SuperSport clear Nick Mallett and Naas Botha of any wrongdoing, but Ashwin Willemse doesn't take part in that inquiry. He claims racism was the cause of his studio walkout in May. That's all from me and the team. Remember, if you missed any part of this evening's bulletin, you can catch up via ETV's YouTube channel. Good night.